So, honorable ministers, all protocols observed, good morning. Welcome to Nairobi once more for those who have just joined us today. I wish to welcome all of you to the Smart Africa Ministerial Roundtable and also to Nairobi, the city in the sun. It is not always as wet as today. More often than not, it shines. Nairobi's warm hospitality will continue to radiate to you people over the next couple of days. This ministerial roundtable, ladies and gentlemen, is held on the sidelines of the Connected Africa Summit, which is a viable platform for fostering conversations around our collective desires to accelerate digital connectivity in the African region. I must express my gratitude to the United States government for the very pragmatic approach towards enhancing connectivity in Africa through the Partnership for Digital Access in Africa, with specific emphasis on broadband connectivity, enhancing device affordability, and digital skills across our countries in the region. Good people, we recognize that quite substantial proportions of the African continent is not yet connected with reliable, stable, and affordable internet, and this initiative intends to give us the impetus to accelerate that digital connectivity. The other issue that comes to mind is the issue of affordability, more so in relation to smart-enabled telephones. If we are digitalizing services across the entire African continent, members of the public will require smart-enabled telephones. So we need to come up with deliberate initiatives that would ensure that as many Africans as possible, from wherever they are in the villages, have access to smart-enabled telephones so that they are able to consume these government services from the comfort of wherever they are. And with the rollout of a critical mass of digital public infrastructure, correspondingly or simultaneously, we must have a commensurate level of digital skilling among the people to facilitate optimal uptake of the digital infrastructure that we are rolling out. So those are three thematic areas that the Partnership for Digital Access in Africa seek to focus on as key result areas. With respect to broadband access, ladies and gentlemen, all of us gathered here are desirous of our people participating meaningfully in the global digital economy. Nobody wants to be left behind. And I must say that through Smart Africa, we have seen tremendous initiatives to spur the digital economy on the continent. And as an active member of Smart Africa, Kenya in 2019 launched the Digital Economy Blueprint, which set us on the path to implementing initiatives to spur our economy. This has subsequently been augmented by our Digital Master Plan 2022 to 2032, which focuses on the areas of digital infrastructure, digital commerce, digital entrepreneurship, and also looking at the policies, laws, and regulations that we need to have in place to create an enabling environment on the basis of which the digital initiatives can be anchored. Therefore, in the next 5 years, as a country, we have set out to roll 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable. This is now work in progress. We are doing it in earnest. And as opposed to digging the ground to lay out fiber, we are leveraging on the existing infrastructure of our power utility company, the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. And it is our proposition, good people, that each and every part of the country where there is power connectivity, we should be able to have fiber connectivity. And in the long run, the net effect is that if we have got last mile power connectivity to each and every household in equal measure, we should be able to have last mile fiber connectivity to each and every household, and by extension, internet in each and every household in the country. We are also rolling out 25,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots. For a start, we have focused on the markets and the bus stops. The markets is because that is where our mothers and sisters who are involved in itinerary trade are domiciled. The bus terminal is there because that's where we have been having a critical of youth who are jobless, loitering around without getting involved in any meaningful activity. We want to turn all our markets into digital markets, leveraging on e-commerce. We want all our youth to get involved in gainful economic activity through e-commerce on one hand and digital jobs on the other. We are also rolling out a total of 1,400 digital hubs right there in the villages. In each and every ward, which is the lowest administrative unit we have in the country, we are going to set up a digital hub. And our ultimate objective is twofold. One, to empower youth by way of digital skills, but eventually, or ultimately, to connect the youth to digital jobs. As we speak, we already have quite a number of youth who are leveraging on the jobs available on digital platforms for purposes of livelihood. We embarked on this process about 1.5 years ago. As we speak, we have trained a total of 390,000 youth and also created about 139,000 jobs on the digital space. And in our estimation, this is perhaps the only sustainable or feasible way of sorting out the unemployment problem that we have within the African continent. There are abundant opportunities available within the digital space. Beyond the integration and increased interoperability of government services, we are keen on investments in digital skills capacity and public workforce development. As we develop the youth by way of digital skills, we must also think of those public servants who are expected to offer services to the Kenyan public and to the African public for that matter. They must also have the requisite level of digital skills. Here in Kenya, we are focusing on certain integral components of the public service. We are focusing on e-health, so that we can facilitate digitalization of medical records and also facilitate interoperability of health data. We are focusing on the revenue system so that we enhance the level of our revenue collection and also strengthen or facilitate prudence in financial management. We are focusing on passports and border control, registration of births and deaths, and also the lands registry. Those are some of the areas that we are focusing on at start. And that will require that we also train public officials so that they have requisite levels of digital skills. Kenya currently boasts of over 40,000 kilometers of fiber connectivity. And with a focus on last mile connectivity to enable our citizens, even the remotest parts of areas, to leverage the immense potential of this critical resource. And therefore, through policy and regulatory interventions, we are leveraging the Universal Service Fund to deploy additional broadband, especially across 19 unserved and underserved areas, to spur the economic fortunes of these areas that have for a long time been let out of the digital superhighway. You see, if we leave the rollout of fiber connectivity in the hands of the private sector alone, then we are not going to have universal access and connectivity, because the private sector is profit motivated. They will not roll out digital infrastructure in areas which, based on their own feasibility studies, are not viable from a profit perspective. That's why the government must come in African governments must come in as agents of necessity to close the digital divide. In Kenya, we are leveraging on the Universal Service Fund. As Africa moving forward, we must think of a sustainable mechanism of financing our digital public infrastructure. That is a question that we need to answer, because we cannot rely on our exchequers alone. Neither can we rely on our donors for support alone. We need a sustainable mechanism. It is high time we started thinking about how to involve the consumer himself or herself in playing a contributing component towards the rollout of this digital infrastructure in the course of consumption, so that perhaps whatever revenues we get from that can be plowed back by way of investment into digital infrastructure. So the financing issue, that is a discussion that we need to have as Africa, so that our digital infrastructure can be rolled out in a sustainable manner. In the last 5 years, we have connected over 750,000 people to mobile network services across 117 sub-locations, which are the Kenya's smallest administrative area spread over 15 counties in Kenya. And with over 50 million mobile internet users, Kenyan citizens are today harnessing the immense potential of the internet, with 3G and 4G population coverage currently standing at 98 and 97% respectively. Then there's the issue of affordability of smart devices. Digitalization is only meaningful if there is universal access and there is also inclusivity. If it is confined to the urban areas, we will not be meeting our ultimate objectives. The truth of the matter is that quite a number of members of the public within the rural areas in Africa still do not have access to affordable devices, telephones. And if that is the case, then it means that we run the risk of facilitating digital access, infrastructure access, to only a select few who are resident within the urban areas. So we must address the issue of affordability of smart devices. In Kenya, for a start, as government, we have partnered with the private sector, and we have embarked on local assembly of smart-enabled telephones, going for a unit cost of about $50. In the not too distant future, we should be able now to embark on local manufacture of smart-enabled telephones and even proceed to manufacture of computer hardware and software. There is no justification, ladies and gentlemen, why Africa must be a net importer of technology. We have got a lot of innovation, creativity among our youth. We have got tech-savvy population, and we should be able to exploit the skills, competencies, and capabilities and wherewithal of our people to leverage on creativity and innovation to become manufacturers of computer hardware and software. That is the direction that we need to move. And we do not want any part of Africa to be left behind. We want to move in tandem. That is why, if there is a given country which is already embarked on these initiatives, we need to benchmark. We need to benchmark, emulate, adapt, but customize to meet the unique and peculiar situations in each and every African country. So we must address the issue of affordability of devices. In Kenya, the number of mobile phone devices, people accessing mobile devices across mobile networks today stands at 65.4 million, out of which 31.8 million are feature phones, while 33.6 million are smartphones. The penetration levels of feature phones and smartphones stands at 62.9 and 66.4% respectively. Then the area of digital skills. We are aware that the global digital economy provides immense possibilities for economic emancipation of our youth. And the youth are the backbones of our country's progresses. Through micro, small, and medium enterprises, our youth can engage in useful business ventures as opposed to hopelessness. And with the globalization of labor, our youth can now be gainfully employed in digital jobs, but this is only possible if we invest in digital skills across our entire population. Here in Kenya, through our Jitume and Ajira digital programs, we have already trained over 390,000 youth. We have created over 139,000 digital jobs. Our target for this year, by the end of this year, we should have trained an additional 500,000 youth. Within the next 2 years, we envisage that we should have created about 2 million jobs for our youth. We strongly believe, good people, that through Smart Africa and the Partnership for Digital Access in Africa, we shall forge a mutually beneficial engagement that will not only allow us to tap into the huge potential that the digital economy presents, but also build sustainable societies. We as a country remain committed to supporting forward-looking initiatives such as the Partnership for Digital Access in Africa. I therefore look forward to enriching discussions, deliberations today, and a clear roadmap on what we must do to attain the ambitious goal of a meaningfully connected Africa. Let us go ahead progressively, ladies and gentlemen, to digitalize everything in Africa. But in equal measure, let us empower the population by way of digital skills. Let us address the issue of affordability of devices, and at the same time, let us enhance the level of digital infrastructure, especially broadband access. And while doing this, please let us have digital infrastructure that is in tandem to each other across countries so that we break unnecessary barriers and boundaries within the African continent. We want to move together so that we build a robust African digital economy.